Hello there, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to give you a little introduction to AngularJS. Okay, now did you hear that? Listen, that's the sound of about 25 people going, what? Stay cool, everything's going to be fine. It's going to be easy, don't worry, okay? But before we start, could you do me a little favour? Do you see how this slider's gone right into the top navigation? I'm not too cool with that. So could you please open up slider.php? That's the view file that's called slider.php. And if you could just jump into the top and add style equals margin top 24. Okay, it's going to create a little gap, and I think that looks a lot nicer. Okay, so if you could do that, that would be cool. All right, now, are you ready to rock and roll? Then let's rock and roll. Now, by the way, folks, we have a little visitor today here who has just popped by. This is Coco. So, if you hear any purring, it's not me and it's not the Queen of England, okay? Just so you know. Okay. Well, we certainly managed to build some nice bells and whistles into this shop. We have our light box thing, which is very nice. And of course, we have our slider that took about 400 years to make, but we got there in the end. We're going to build the third and final fancy thing for the public site, and it's all to do with the items pages. You see, when someone clicks into an item, it's nice to have this, and it's kind of cool. But you know, there are situations where a website owner might want to have more than one picture to represent the item, you know. So it would be good if we had some kind of facility to do that. And what I want to have, folks, is a vibe where we have some little thumbnails either along the bottom or along the left here. I haven't quite decided. And the vibe is you would click on the thumbnails and the main picture would change, okay? This would be very, very super cool, and that's what I'd like to work on today. The challenge I've got, folks, is that I have spent the last 2 days wandering around Google and Bootsnip and Bing and everywhere, and I've been trying to find a little jQuery thing that does what I'm looking for. Now, I have found a few of them, but for one reason or another, they're not quite right, you know? So I thought to myself, well, why am I scratching about the hen house like this? You know, we're better than this, right? I thought, well, why not just make our own, okay? So that's what's going to happen in this video. And to do this, I'm going to be using a technology called AngularJS, okay? Now, AngularJS is just a JavaScript library. Just a JavaScript library. That's all it is. It's nothing more, okay? And it enables us to do some stuff that would take sometimes hundreds of lines of ordinary JavaScript code, or even sometimes hundreds of lines of jQuery. We can do incredible things with just a few lines of AngularJS, you know? So I thought, well, I'm going to add some AngularJS to this to build our little thumbnail clicker vibe, okay? We'll just make one ourselves. And by the end of this video, that's right, we're going to do this in one video, okay? And by the end of this, you will know how to build one of those things in AngularJS. Okay? So that's the vibe. Now, let me get started here. And I would like you to create a folder in htdocs. And we'll call the folder Angular test, okay? Now, so I'm just going to see if I've got this. Do I have this? I've not got it. Okay, so into htdocs, brand new folder, and it's called Angular test, okay? We're going to use this Angular test thing, which has gone up here somewhere. We're going to use this to test AngularJS, build some cool stuff and all of that. And it's going to give us everything we need, actually. Okay, so have you created the folder? Hello, did you create the folder? Okay, so I'm going to now open that folder, which is called AngularJS. Where on earth is it? Here it is here. I'm just going to open it up, okay? And we're going to create an ordinary index.php file, like so, okay? And then we're going to create a very basic, ordinary HTML page. It's going to look like this. And just so you feel at home, I'm going to say h1 hello. Okay, so if we go to localhost /Angular test, then you should find that there's a page here that says hello. Okay, no big deal. And now is where things become incredibly exciting, because, to use Star Trek lingo, we are going to initiate AngularJS. Here's how it goes. I'd like you to open up a browser and go to angularjs.org, okay? angularjs.org. Then I want you to click on develop and then download, okay? Now you're going to see a huge list of stuff here. We are interested, for reasons that I won't go into actually, we want to use 1.4.9, okay? So click on 1.4.9. And you're going to see a bunch of other stuff here, right? Tons and tons of stuff. Now, you'll see a file in here called angular.js. Click into that, right? And this is AngularJS. This is it, okay? This is what all the fuss is about. And as you can see, it's just JavaScript. It's just tons and tons of JavaScript with lots of comments and all of that. And it has been created by a team from Google to basically make our lives easier, okay? So don't be scared of AngularJS or anything. It's nothing weird. It's just a bunch of JavaScript, okay? We don't need to know what's going on here, by the way, but we can use what's going on here to do some very cool stuff. Now, if you back out of that and go to angular.min.js, angular.min.js, what we have here is a minified version of Angular. Now, by the way, there's a misconception out there. Some developers think that minified means, you know, it doesn't have as many features. It's a kind of low-fat version or something. It's maybe not the full thing when it's basic. Folks, that's not true. When you have a minified version of something, all it means is that the code has been all squashed up, do you see, like this, and they've also removed the comments. And the reason why they do that is so that it all loads very, very quickly. So AngularJS is thousands of lines of code, but check this out. I want you to copy this address here for angular.min.js. I want you to go to your HTML file, and in the head section, I'd like you to add a script tag, and we're going to say source equals, and then I want you to paste in that address, okay? And if we go back to our page here, hit refresh. Congratulations. Yes, one line of code was all it took, and what a glorious vibe it was. So now we are going to build an Angular application. And somebody out there's just said, what? You must be kidding, man. You're not having a hard enough time with Codeigniter. Listen, stay cool, Starsky. Have I let you down yet? Relax, this is going to be cool, and in one video we're going to have this nailed, okay? So I would like you to go to your Angular test vibe and make a new file up called app.js, okay? Let's just make that. And this is just going to be a JavaScript file. It's where we're going to build the thing, okay? Now, we should reference that as well in the head section here. So let's do another script tag like so. And the source equals app app.js. Okay, this is where all of our custom stuff's gonna live. And if you look at app.js, you'll see that we can, well, you don't see much at all, but you'll see in a second that this is just an ordinary JavaScript file. Now, I'm not sure how familiar you are with JavaScript, but it's pretty straightforward. I mean, okay, the syntax is obviously different from PHP, but the general concepts are pretty much the same. So to set up a variable, say variable, and we'll call it, let's say, name, we could say variable name equals, and then chuck in a name, okay? And if you do alert and then do that, that's going to do a pop-up that says hello, okay? But if we space out, do a little plus, and then do name, if we do that and load the page, you'll see that it says hello David. We get a little pop-up, okay? So nothing to be scared of, it's just JavaScript. Now, even if you've never seen that before, just relax. It's all gonna be cool. Listen, it's nothing complicated. All we're gonna do is build an AngularJS app. I mean, come on, it doesn't get much easier, right? So here's how we do that. I want to create a variable, and we're gonna call it my app, okay? My app. Now notice that we are no longer in PHP land where we might do this vibe here. I think that's called snake case, by the way. In JavaScript land, people like to do this vibe. So it would be like your name. Do you know what I'm saying? This is called camel case. Now, to me, none of it really matters. But I suppose it would be kind of rude if we never did things the same way as other JavaScript people, okay? So we're just setting up a variable called myApp. Now this variable is going to be a very special variable because it's going to be an Angular module, okay? It's going to be an Angular module. So if you can just type that out, then on you go. Now, by the way, you'll notice I've got some autocomplete stuff happening here. There is a plugin you can get for Sublime Text, and it helps you with Angular stuff and just autocompletes, right? But in any event, this is it. We're setting up an Angular module. Now, an Angular module needs two things. It needs a name, and it needs to know what dependencies are required for this module to work. So the name, I'm just going to call it my app, okay? And I know that's all a bit weird, like why did you call it my app twice, man? What's going on? Listen, it's just a convention, okay? It's just something that people like to do. You can actually call it anything you want. Call it Clint Eastwood, you know, Bruce Lee, anything at all. Anything, even Telecaster, who knows? But I'm going to call it my app, right? And this bit with the square brackets here is for dependencies. You've probably heard people babbling on about dependency injections, or sorry, dependency injection, especially if you've ever watched seminars about Symfony and stuff like that. All it means, when you hear somebody talking about dependency, I turned into an Israeli there. When you hear somebody talking about dependency injection, all it means is, what things would you like to include when this thing loads up? And in this instance, we're going to leave it alone. So let's just do a semicolon there. It's just like PHP, okay? Semicolon ends the statement. So we've set up a variable called myApp. It equals an Angular module that's called myApp. We're not going to bother with any dependency injections, okay? So everything is cool. And now I'm going to say myApp.controller, okay? Just like in Codeigniter land, AngularJS has got modules and controllers and so on, but don't worry about it. Just type what I'm doing here, right? All I'm saying is that the module that's my app has a controller, okay? And this controller, let's just call it my controller, okay? You can call it anything you want. It absolutely doesn't matter. So it's called my controller. Now, a controller in AngularJS has got 3 parts to it. It has a name. We've called it my controller. And then in this part here, this is where we declare some things that we would like to use in this my controller thing. Actually, I hate to use the word, but dependencies. Now, in this case, we are going to add something. We're going to add a thing called scope, okay? I'll show you what this is in just a second. So add scope in, and then we've got a function here. Now, do you know how in PHP, we'll just pretend it's PHP, right? If it's PHP, and I go like this in PHP, okay? And I say hello name, okay? You know how in PHP the vibe is that for this to work, it's expecting a variable called name, okay? So this thing is expecting something called name to come in, okay? Well, it's the same kind of vibe here. We can go inside this function thing here, and we can say that we are expecting, I keep saying scope, we are expecting this thing called scope to appear. Okay? Now, what on earth is scope? What's going on? And how did we even end up here? Well, stay cool, because the good news is all of the difficult stuff is done. Scope is basically what's called a service, which to you and me just means a big thing that includes lots of stuff, some of which can come in kind of handy. So check this out. If we were to say, for example, scope dot my name equals, and then we were to say David Connolly, okay, and I'll even space this out so that it looks kind of nice, okay. If we were to do that, scope my name is David Connolly, right? And then, now remember, the controller is called my controller. We can do a couple of tweaks to this. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to say ng-app equals, and what did we call it? Yes, my app, right? So I'm saying to Angular, listen, see that Angular, the AngularJS app, I want it to basically have influence over this entire HTML document. So that's what that does, ng-app. You'll see a lot of ng- when you're using Angular, right? And now I'm going to create a div here, and I'm going to say ng-controller equals my controller. Now don't forget, you could have called this anything you want, but look, I've created a div. It's ng-controller, it's my controller. So what I'm saying is that the controller, the Angular controller, has influence over this div here. And you know how in PHP we would go like this, okay? We've done this a million times, right? Well, AngularJS has a similar type of thing. And the way that they do that in Angular is they do curly bracket, and then you would say my name, and then you do closing like that with 2 curly brackets, okay? And if we do that and hit save and refresh the screen, look, see, we have just passed a value from our AngularJS application. We've set it in the controller, and it's part of the Angular application, and it is now being displayed in the view, and the view in this case happens to be this HTML, and that's AngularJS, okay? Congratulations. Now, I know that some of the code's a bit weird, especially this vibe here, you know, down the bottom here. Yes, it does look a bit weird, but if you can just copy and paste this, listen, we're only talking about a few lines. Can you handle that? Is that okay? Right, excellent. If you can just copy and paste that, then a revolution has begun. And let me show you what I'm talking about. You see, there's a thing in AngularJS which is called two-way data binding, right? And some people think this is the most incredible thing ever. And it's actually kind of simple, but it is very cool. Suppose we do an input vibe here, right? And if I was to say ng-model equals, right? Now listen. What do models, forget about Angular, when you're using Codeigniters, what do models generally deal with? Yes, they deal with data. That's right, okay? So if we say ng-model equals my name, right? We've got an input thing. I'll even do a couple of new lines and stuff. If we save this and refresh the page, you'll see that David Connolly is in this form field here. Okay, no surprises. But check this. Remember how I said that it was two-way data binding? That's the killer catchphrase, right? This is like, hello, welcome to the bleeding edge of IT. What took you? What took you so long? You've probably been messing about with Laravel, haven't you? Well, say goodbye to the Stone Ages, because I'm going to introduce you to two-way data binding. Check this. Look, I can say, hello, how do you do? So that is an absolute revolution, because what we're doing here is two-way data binding. In other words, the variable my name is being declared in here in our JavaScript file. It's being declared, it's going into the view file and it's saying hello David, but as we update the text field, then this is essentially going back into the scope thing. This scope is like a big container that can store all variables. Listen, again, you could have called this variable ColecoVision. You could have called this variable, you know, banana, anything you want. That's the nice thing about scope. It allows you to create these variables. And look, we have, when we refresh, we've set the variable in the JavaScript thing, and now look, we are changing the variable. It's effectively from the view back to the controller. That's what two-way data binding is, okay? Now, that may look kind of trivial, but we can actually use this concept to do some really, really cool stuff. For example, you know how ng-app means something to Angular? It means, you know, we're declaring an Angular application. And by the way, this is a complete Angular application. Congratulations. I mean, as confusing as it may be, even if you just bungled your way through that and just typed along not knowing what's going on, then congratulations. That's an Angular app, okay? So we've got this ng-app and ng-controller and ng-model. The big news flash is that Angular is full, absolutely jam-packed with ng-something. And all of these ng-vibes all do something usually quite kind of cool. So here's a reference that I picked up. Look at them all. ng-app, bind, blur, change, click, cloak. We've got ng-hide, okay, hides or shows HTML elements. Look at all the ng-see? And that is pretty much the nuts and bolts of AngularJS, okay? You know, that's it. You include AngularJS, you set it up, okay, fair enough. You spend maybe 2 minutes going, what on earth is going on? But as soon as you survive this, even if you don't really know what's going on, then that's when the good stuff happens and we can get into all of the ng- stuff. Now, this, as I was saying, this vibe that we came up with here, this two-way data binding stuff, is actually everything we need to build our little shop thing. You know, the vibe here with the icons that you click on and so on. And I'm going to show you how that works. Let's just clear this vibe here, right? And what we'll do is I've got an idea. I'm making this up as I go along. Let's head on to Bing. Okay, let's do this together. And I want you to find a picture of John Lennon, right? Just find a picture of John Lennon. Okay, here he is, John Lennon, yes, looking good, okay? Now, I want you to copy that image address or open it in a new tab if you want. Gives you a nice, that's maybe a bit big. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Copy the image address and I want you to create an image and I want the source to be that John Lennon thing, okay? Now, if we, let me just see, right, we'll just do that, right? We've got John Lennon. If we load the page here, our Angular page, we've got a big, giant picture of John Lennon, okay? Maybe we should actually say something like width equals 400. Okay, so we've brought it down to size. It's John Lennon. Hello, he's looking pretty good, right? Maybe make it a bit bigger, actually. I think John Lennon deserves to be bigger than that. Okay, so we have a picture of John Lennon. Head back to Bing. Let's get a picture of Paul McCartney. Okay, here we go. This is Paul McCartney. Actually, I think he looks a bit better here. Okay, so I'm going to copy that image address. I'm going to do another image here. So let me get rid of that miserable stuff. So it's the same vibe, except this time it's not going to be John Lennon. It's going to be Paul McCartney. Okay, so if we just replace that like this, we'll chuck in Paul McCartney. Let's do the other two. Come on, let's do it. Who cares, right? Who cares? So we've got George Harrison. Here we go. George Harrison's coming up here. And that is a pretty good pick, I have to say. So copy the image address. We'll do the vibe again. So here comes George Harrison. Okay, and again we'll say width equals 700. And finally, everybody's favourite, Ringo Starr. Okay, so here comes Ringo Starr, and yeah, I guess we'll have to go with that. That's kind of a cool one. Copy image address, and it's Ringo Starr. Okay, everybody's screaming, hurry up, hurry up. Listen, relax, will you please chill out, man? You're learning AngularJS in one video. Is that not fast enough? Man, you guys are crazy, I have to tell you. Right, so we've got 4 pictures on the screen. Here they are. Okay, here they are. It's 4 pictures. Okay, now let's imagine we grab those 4 pictures again. Same 4 pictures. And this time I'm going to change the width from 700 to 100. Okay, so if we do that, refresh the screen, you can see we've got 4 small images here. Okay, now this vibe up here, you see how we've got these 4 images going on, right? Now if we do this, we're just going to have one big picture of John Lennon, okay, and 4 smaller pictures. Okay, and what we can do now is very, very exciting, because if we look back at our app.js file, remember we've set up a variable called myname. We could have set up anything, even something like default pic, and we could actually add in the default big picture that loads up. Okay, so we could go like that, and we could put that John Lennon picture URL in here, right? Then we could go back in here, do the double curly brackets. We would say default pick. Now, nothing's going to change, right? I think that's actually a lyric from Across the Universe, right? But John Lennon was right. Nothing's going to change. And if you refresh the screen, okay, so it's getting the default pick from the app.js file. And here is where the magic really happens, because we can go into each of these vibes, each of these thumbnails, and we're going to say ng-click equals, and then we're going to say change. Okay, change. And change is going to be a function. And inside each and every one of these little beauties here, we can add in the URL that we would like to become the main big picture. So here we go, I'm just copying and pasting. Okay, here we go. So just copying and pasting. Okay, like that. And I know the syntax is a bit weird, but if you can handle the general concepts, or even if you can just follow along, then that'll be really good. Okay, so I'm copying this here like that, and we're pasting in here. So what we're saying is, hey Angular, when someone clicks, when someone does an ng click, please run a function called change and pass in the URL for the little thumbnail. So all we have to do now, and it's very, very easy, we just say scope.change, and we're going to declare what it is, right? It's going to be a function, okay? And this function is going to take in a new pick, like that, and I'll just make it up. I like the sound of new pick. You can call it anything you want. And I'm going to say scope.default pick equals new pick. Okay, so if we save this and then refresh the page, everything seems kind of normal. But if we click on Paul McCartney, look, it has changed. We click on George Harrison, boom, instantly, Ringo Starr. See, back to John Lennon, back to George Harrison, Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr. It's an awesome, awesome vibe. Now, it's a shame that you cannot see my cursor as I happily click around these pictures. That is a shame, but nevertheless, it's all working and it's very cool. So, congratulations. You now understand, hopefully, and know the fundamentals of AngularJS. And guess what? You managed to pick it up in only about 33 minutes or something like that. So congratulations. I'll see you in the next video.